Welcome to the Lost in Translation virtual tour, curated by Dixon-Evans and Essary. Brought to you by the San Diego Central Library's Visual Arts program. Inspired in part by the current state of communication breakdown in our country, this exhibition examines the many ways we misinterpret or misunderstand each other through a game of telephone with local artists and authors. The fascinating, touching, and humorous interpretation that occurs as words are rendered into images and back to words highlights how perception evolves. In a time when social media is rife with frustration and defensiveness, this project asks the participant to set aside judgment and respond to other worlds' view with compassion, curiosity, and/or a sense of humor. Local curator Essary teamed up with Dixon-Evans, writer and KPVS arts producer, to select and match local artists and authors to play a game of telephone over the last year. The exhibition reveals how these layers of interpretation end up wildly different or surprisingly similar to the beginning, analogous to the challenges we face as human beings to relate to one another. Starting with Thread 6, featuring Dixon-Evans, Alanna Airitam, Honarvar, the De La Torre brothers, Patrick Coleman, and Beliz Iristay. Writer Dixon-Evans starts off this thread with, "You never play with her," my father said to my mother. Suddenly, they were both attentive to me, handing me my toys in the unlearned way of people who never played. Both of them, arms outstretched with an offering, a doll or a block. Me grabbing at neither. Until my father put his down, stood up, and walked inside. "Let's feed your doll some of these nice weeds," she said, and grasped a handful of broadleaf clover in her palm, violently pulled at them, and sprinkled them with surprising tenderness at my doll's feet. Alanna Airitam, Queen's photographer, interprets the piece with her photo Evelyn with doll. Next, Honarvar, award-winning author of A Girl Called Rumi with a View, wrote, "Out somewhere between soberness and a daydream, I cradle the future, a fragile thing, a baby ragdoll stitched from the ruins of the past, reeking of fast food, fast fashion, and faster weapons, lips, a quivering question mark. The baby coos and coos. Tell me, what dreams may come when to be is not to be?" The De La Torre brothers, collaborative mixed media artists Einar and James De La Torre, interpreted with their piece Belated Mother's Day Card. Writer and author of Fire Season, Patrick Coleman, responds with, "Only when you are against the wall can you see that brick was once stone, was once soil, was once a lifeless part of a lifeless planet. Things could grow here, if we change how we see. If we change how we see each other, mourning, angry, afraid, hoping not to be seen as afraid, bringing imperfect offerings. Take my hand. It's made of wood. It was taken from an oak and carved. So carve me. Make it something simple. Make it something to last." Closing the thread, visual artist Beliz Iristay responds with her piece, Tarzana. Thread 2, featuring Perry Vasquez, Animal Cracker Conspiracy, Lily Huang, Lindy Ivey, and Ryan Bradford. The main themes found in this thread are nature and society. Oil painter and writer Perry Vasquez starts us out with, "Imagine an audience of migratory swallows. Recite a dust-covered poem from inside a birdcage. Forget to remember to forget the pecking order. Fly away." Animal Cracker Conspiracy, a contemporary art collaboration between Lane Glum and Bridget Roundtree, respond with their piece, Pecking Order. Author of Underneath, Lily Huang, interprets the piece with, "Once, a bird organizes a bird symphony into a birdophone, into a bird recording according to a bird conductor, kiting each trill. Tootie. A bird, plus a bird, plus a bird, plus a bird, plus a bird. Forzando. Pitchlessness braces radiance. Mustering lamentation. Pandemonium! Mordant. Dissent charms deceit. Watch unkindness brood into exaltation. Oh, murder. Fermata. Clouds wake to party along." Oil pastel artist Lindy Ivey responds with their entitled piece. Writer, illustrator, and author Ryan Bradford closes the thread with, "I think nature's messing with me," he said. Standing halfway outside the open cabin door, she put her book down and rubbed her temples. "Did you get any sleep last night?" "Don't you hear that?" he said, ignoring her question. "It's like Cab Calloway or Benny Goodman or something." "I think you need some fresh air." He considered it, nodded reluctantly. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. She picked her book back up and searched for the word she'd abandoned. He burst back in, his eyes wide with fright. "Something just called me a hoochie coocher." Thread 1. Featuring Marisa Crane, Marianella de la Hoz, Phil Beaumont, Guro Silva, Keek Araki-Kawaguchi, and M.R. Barnadas. Opening for this thread, basketball player and author of I Keep My Exoskeletons to Myself, Marisa Crane writes, "Do you remember when you said you wanted to get reined in with me and build the rainman, but never a life? For years, my body has wandered around without an occupant. There are worse things, I suppose. Never have I seen wings as brilliant as yours. Tell me, how many years did you keep them tucked away, afraid to disturb the water in the clouds, and my body?" Creating her internal world through art, Marianella de la Hoz interprets the writing with her piece Stormed. Educator and musician Phil Beaumont responds with, "The outside floated in much as it did most mornings. Though uninvited, I seldom minded, telling stories of the evening's exploits, my skin silken by the warming breath." Guro Silva, jewelry maker and painter, interprets with his piece El Rito. Keek Araki-Kawaguchi, teacher and author of The Book of Cain and Margaret, interprets the piece with, "You have been to this party before. Butcher, baker, a creature igniting into flames, dubstep of course, ambient of course, prawn and peapod, yes pretty, yes please, legs muddy with prawn eggs. Of course, one creature dancing there remains, around another sleeping in the bathtub of ice." Conceptual interdisciplinary artist M.R. Barnadas closes the thread off with her piece, Sailor's Valentines Reconsidered. Thread 3 includes Patrick Coleman, Jackie Dunn Smith, Marisa Crane, John Perlia, and Keek Araki-Kawaguchi. Themes of this thread are crisis and elitism. Patrick Coleman writes, "Why are you upset?" I ask when she starts to cry. She tells me when she has to go to the moon, and she looks back at the earth, she's going to be so sad. She's 4 years old, has no ambition to be an astronaut, sees the world so clearly, knows love, knows what it means to lose it. Reminds me, who had forgotten again. Visual artist Jackie Dunn Smith responds with her entitled piece. In response to the previous piece, Marisa Crane writes, "And when the world asked for our help, we sipped our cocktails and tanned our faces. We dipped our toes in the water and fell asleep mid-massage. We closed our hearts like a tulip and endless nighttime." Still live visual artist John Perlia responds with his piece, The Seductive Path to Perpetual Complacency. Keek Araki-Kawaguchi interprets the piece with, "It's true what they're saying. Everybody is having more fun than you. Even nuns with spiders on them. The scientists came together. A hotel in Florida. I am thinking what you were thinking. A real COVID den. Men died to bring you truth. Everybody is having more fun than you, especially in bed, even the dead. Medical studies say necrophilia has probiotic benefits. You can have your kombucha and F it too. That look on your face is called shaming my kink. See, this is why nobody calls you." Thread 0, featuring Kirsten Amani Kasai, Sheena Ray Dowling, Corey Lynn Fayman, Alanna Airitam, and Max Feye. The main theme of this thread is love. Author of The House of Ezreal, Kusanamani Kasai opens the thread up with her excerpt from The House of Ezreal. You are a killing weight, a stone sewn into this wolf's belly. But, beloved woman, know that whatever comes of us, my heart will beat for you until the coroner cuts it from my body. Artist and educator Sheena Ray Dowling interprets the writing with her untitled piece. In response, musician, sound designer, and songwriter Lynn Fayman writes, "We walked all night through twisting streets, but there was no comfort in her hands now, only the cold-fingered flesh of carnivorous betrayal. The rising cost of meat led to an inevitable question." Alanna Airitam responds with her entitled piece on luster paper. Max Feye, poet and writer of several successful ghostwritten book series, ends with, "Rembrandt could never paint a woman's heart. Even if it was served upon a silver platter with Chardonnay, his friends would just say, stick to the basics, like God, a man, or the time of day." Thread 5, featuring Ryan Bradford, Hugo Crosthwaite, Lynn Fayman, Wick Alexander, and Kusanamani Kasai. This thread consists of various themes. Ryan Bradford opens this thread with, Ghostboy raises his arms to block the sun out of his face. The motion lifts the sheet. Underneath he wears Keds and Oshkosh. The eye holes are bottomless. Look, I say. There he is. My wife doesn't look. Instead, she puts her palms on the table and slides them away from her. The piles of bills and condolence cards become shoveled together by her fingertips. Her arms fan out until her cheek comes to rest on the tabletop. This untitled piece by Hugo Crosthwaite, a pencil artist, is the interpretation for the last writing piece. In response, Lynn Fayman wrote, "Penitence is a house with a white picket fence and a large picture window. A ragged hole in the clouds, making shadows of leaves. Green hopes that fluttered in freedom. My thoughts are like ghosts, diminished, serene, gazing at failures of autumn." Painter and sculpture artist Wick Alexander interprets with his entitled piece. Kusanamani Kasai closes the thread in response with, "Mama says the world as you know it is ending. Pixel by pixel degrading. I am only 5, but here is the rapture. Mama looks out the window and decides, today is Halloween, so let's put in our costumes and play a game. Now you look just like them, except your bucket is filled with candy, and theirs are stuffed chock-a-block with regrets." She can smile and frown at the same time, my mama. She points to the ground, the sky, and tells me to stay between the lines. We're gonna hopscotch all the way to heaven. Thread 4, featuring Lynn Fayman, Carlos Castro Arias, Mickey Vale, Charles Glaubitz, Lizz Huerta, and Perry Vasquez. Lynn Fayman writes, "He'd harnessed his soul to their stories of hidden treasure and bright and bottom lines. He'd trusted in fables and scattered his energies among them as a king showers coins on the beggarly, leaving behind tokens of his own ignorance. The truth he discovered almost too late was that he did not have an endless supply of himself." Carlos Castro Arias, professor and musician, responds to the writing with his piece, "The Dead of El Comandante." Hip-hop artist and playwright Mickey Vale writes in response, "Time's thief waits eagerly at the foot of cradle, turn bedstead, turn casket. The shadows beckoned with outstretched arms, cunning guides into the darkness, leading the charge on the Underground Railroad to the unknown. Nightgown hems stretched in the white-knuckled clutch of the familiar. To hold on or let go, which misery awaits?" Illustrator Charles Glaubitz interprets the writing with his piece, Night Train. Lizz Huerta, essayist and short story writer, responds with, "The train dreamed itself a body of geometric language. All doorways were once gardens, or stations, or mouth bones in the dark. Come, the horn bellows. Be a beast, ride or be ridden in monochromatic energy. If you hover, hover hard. Make it a prayer. Make it your home." Closing the thread, Perry Vasquez interprets the writing with his piece, The Train Dreamed Itself a Body. Thank you for viewing Lost in Translation's virtual tour. For more information on the San Diego Public Library's visual arts program and opportunities, please visit mysdpl.org/visualarts.